Meet Lee Na. Lee Na is a materials engineer who specializes in textiles. A textile is another word for a material that is made of fibers like clothes. A materials engineer creates and tests new textiles that are used to make clothing and other products. Right now, Lee Na works for a company that makes wetsuits. A wetsuit is a piece of clothing that keeps people warm when they are in cold water. People might wear a wetsuit when they are scuba diving or surfing. Today, Lee Na is working on designing a new wetsuit. To help her get ideas for her textiles, Lee Na uses animals as inspiration. Lee Na thinks about animals that stay warm in cold water like sea otters. She thinks that if she can design a wetsuit that mimics a sea otter's fur, she can keep people really warm. After Lee Na researches her idea more, she sketches out her design for a wetsuit on paper. She makes notes along the sides of her drawings to explain a couple of things, like what materials the wetsuits will be made of. When Lee Na finishes her design and notes, she emails her idea to another engineer to see what she thinks. Lee Na's colleague says she loves her ideas but wants to know how the wetsuit will keep people warm in cold water. Lee Na decides to make a YouTube video to explain the wetsuit. This way, if someone else asks how it will work, she can just send them the link. Lee Na decides to use her phone to record herself talking about the wetsuit design. First, Lee Na explains that when someone goes swimming in cold water, heat moves out of the person's body and into the cold water. She explains that her goal is to create a wetsuit that will minimize the transfer of heat or thermal energy from the person's body to the water as much as possible. Then she explains that sea otters are able to stay warm and dry by trapping air pockets in their fur. These pockets of air act as a barrier to prevent the sea otter's body heat from escaping to the colder surroundings. Since she knows that the fur works well in nature, she decides to create a furry wetsuit for people. Lee Na goes on to explain that the wetsuit won't be made of real fur. That would be crazy. Instead, she will use tiny rubber tubes that will imitate the animal's fur. The rubber tubes will trap air just like the sea otter's fur. After Lee Na finishes her YouTube video, she decides to go to lunch with a friend who likes to surf. Lee Na tells her friend about her new idea for wetsuits. Her friend reminds Lee Na that she should make sure the wetsuit will be easy for people to move around in and be affordable. Lee Na thanks her friend for the good reminders. As an engineer, Lee Na knows that the products that she designs need to meet the customer's wants and needs. After lunch, Lee Na goes back to her office to keep working on her new wetsuit. She works for a couple of hours to figure out how she will make all the rubber tubes that need to go into the wetsuit. She looks at her watch and notices that it's 4:30 and almost time to go home. Lee Na decides to make a to-do list for the rest of her project before going home. After designing and making the wetsuit, she will need to test it out to make sure that it works. Testing the wetsuit will give her ideas on things she needs to change to make it even better. Now it's your turn to go on an adventure and be a materials engineer.